What's up, coaches? Hey, I've had a lot of people asking about practice schedules the last, I don't know how long, really since this summer when I was kind of organizing my offensive install and looking into practice schedules. So I wanted to quickly make a video just to kind of share how I go about making my schedule. I don't even know where I picked this one up. Probably year one under Dylan Terry up at Wyandotte. He had something very similar to this. And then I've just added pieces as I've gone throughout. Okay. So a couple specifics about this practice schedule. We are going to use approximately 23 to 25 5-minute periods during practice. I'm going to have a little bit of pre-practice. I'm also going to put all of my meeting schedule in there. So my pre-practice meetings. That's all the way that I do things. Okay. That's how the perfect plan for me. If that's not how you do it, then that's absolutely okay. First thing you want to do is just open up a new spreadsheet. Google Sheets is great. Okay, that way it stores online. You can make multiple of these. You can duplicate it, make a blank. You can also use tabs if you want. Completely up to you, whatever you want to do. So let's get into it here. So first, we want to just highlight the basics of our schedule. Okay, so at the top, I'm going to leave room for kind of a header. Okay. This will be kind of where we put the team name, all that crazy stuff, the date. And then we're just going to come here, and I have found that using boxes A through L is the best. Okay, we're going to darken this up a little bit just so we know what we're doing. What we're going to put across here is what time the thing is. I like to identify the periods in numbers and letters. That helps with anytime we are trying to do, if we have it like a device that calls out what period it is. Okay, some people are using like loudspeakers to tell you what period it is. So that's why I like to use like period names and numbers. It'll scream out period 1, and then it'll tell you what you're supposed to do, right? Across the top here, okay, so I'm going to start doubling these up, and we'll look at why we do this later. You don't have to do everyone individual. You can just copy this and paste it, and it will automatically double those up for you. Okay, so now all these boxes are doubled. Remember, if you need to, you can pause this and do it on your own screen if you're looking to build your own schedule. Time, depending on what time the players get to you, that's when I would start. Okay, and then just do 5-minute intervals as long as you need to do it. We're going to run ours through about 5:40. And that's actually going to be our end of practice, okay? Up here at the top, so now we're going to tell what these are. So this is going to be O-line, D-line, okay, tight end or H-backs. And you could separate these if you need to. Inside backers, running backs, outside linebackers, QB, free safety, and last but not least is wide receivers and DBs. I pair these up mainly because your quarterbacks and wide receivers a lot of times are going to do things together, so these become easy to pair later on in the schedule, and I'll show you what that looks like. The same if you're working mesh, your quarterbacks and running backs can be together. You can put all of your skill guys together. Also, your O-line and tight ends, who for a lot of teams are just additional O-line with eligible numbers, they can be paired together for their thing. So it just allows you to pair groups together pretty well. Doesn't mean it's always perfect, but for the most part it is. Before we go any further, I quickly click this top left corner, and I like to always center my stuff, not only center horizontal alignment, but in the vertical alignment too. Okay, so that's going to clean a lot of things up. You can go in and change the size of the text if you want, especially when you're dealing with like these headers, right? You may make that up to size 12. Same thing here. If you want, you don't have to. It just makes it a little easier to read when you get all these things printed out, okay? Probably going to do the same for this. And then we'll look at the rest of it in a moment. So, practice period, okay? So this is going to be meeting time. I'm going to stretch that all the way until I want to go out and do pre-practice. So we want to start our pre-practice at 3:25. Remember, this is just kind of a made-up schedule based on wherever your school gets to either a football period, like a lot of times our 7th or 8th hours, 6th, 7th, or 8th, wherever you're at, is your varsity sports period. And then some schools don't have one at all, so you would just start this time immediately following school. You could even have a morning and an evening, and just whatever you want to do with it. Anyway, Okay, so we'll go pre-practice for a few there. So it gives about 15 minutes of whatever we're going to walk through pre-practice. And then we're jumping into our numbers. Okay, so now we start numbering the periods. So this is going to have 25 periods, but this last one's going to be end of practice, right? So it doesn't actually count as a period. But now we can kind of see how much time we have allotted everywhere in between. So we want to go in and put some boxes all around all this. Now this in the middle, you'll say, well, I need to be able to type in that. That's right, you do. Okay, so we can either just not put that there yet, or later we can go in and subdivide them even larger. I'm going to go ahead and darken this up as well, just to set the edge here, make it a little bit easier to read. All right, once again, this is kind of how I do things. It's really completely up to you. All right, so we got meetings, and then this right here, you can put in where each group goes in a meeting. You don't have to put the meetings on here at all, right? You can do a completely separate schedule for meetings, however you want to do that. But here we're just going to put our meeting times for our groups. So team meeting, let's say we'll do that for 15 minutes. At Owasso, I learned here's where they always have a big team meeting before they start anything else. So the kids come over from class, they immediately jump into a team meeting. They're watching a few highlights, a motivational thing, a lesson for the day, whatever it is they're going to put on the board. Certain coaches get up and speak to the group. Okay, then you can go into special teams meeting. So once again, special teams, it could be what we're changing this week, if there's personnel changes, scheme change, whatever. And then you can get into your group stuff. I may have a part of this, and I screwed this up a little bit, so allow me to go back. You're basically going to be having your special teams along with your offensive and defensive meetings. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to. You don't have to be having them at separate times. If you're not on special teams, you go to your offensive or defensive meeting, and special teams can just join you later. However you want to do that. Okay, so we can set up 2 meeting times. Or if it's an offensive day or a defensive day, then that day can just reign supreme, right? So that way you can just have that meeting on that day. Some people do Mondays or offense, Tuesdays or defense, Wednesdays both, however you need to do it. And then 10 minutes to get dressed. Now, we like to get dressed after these meetings for a couple of reasons. One, if you give a kid the time to get dressed at the beginning of the hour, so let's say your 7th hour, you're in Oklahoma, you have 6th or 7th hour sports athletic period for varsity. So they're going to come over. They may use 15, 20 minutes to get dressed. They're going to get dressed really slow. They think they can be late because, I can get dressed real fast and then still make to a meeting. If it starts with a meeting, they all show up. Now they're set to a limited amount of time to get dressed. They'll get in there and get it done and get out. So it just taking back control of the time. Okay. Then we move on to pre-practice. Okay, so we're starting pre-practice at 3:25. And it can be whatever it is you're doing that day. So maybe it's a fix-it period. Maybe it's team alignment, right? If you listen to Kenny Simpson talk, he's big into he calls it the big, little, big practice plan. So we come together as a team. We look at this new thing we're doing or this whatever. Then we break down into smaller groups and we build back to team at the end. Okay. So you get about 5 minutes for a fix-it period. We'll do 5 minutes for a walkthrough. We're going to do it's an offensive day, so new offensive formation. And then kind of what Joe calls the bird walk, or hey, we're just going to, once again, walk through a new offensive play. Apparently I can't spell offensive here, so excuse me for that. Okay, so now we've walked through the formation. Maybe there's multiple, right? So a couple of formations we're going to add this week. We got 5 minutes, run a couple 1s and 2s through it, threes if you're quick enough. We're just really trying to solidify that new formation, whatever it is, right? I'm just making things up here and then walk through a new play. So now we've used our pre-practice accordingly. If it's a defensive day, this may be a strip period. It may be a defensive alignment to what they're doing that week, your opponent, whoever they happen to be. Okay, so there's really no limit to any of that. All right. For the rest of this is where you can kind of get into all of your individual stuff if you're ready to. You may want to do stretch at the beginning, right? So some people want a 10-minute stretch, some people want 15. So we're going to do a 15. Okay, so let's go dynamic. Dynamic warm-up or speed training, right? So if you're an athletic speed movement guy, you understand that we're trying to get that done in 15 to 20 minutes. So getting it done early, get it done quick, roll your guys through, get their speed training for the day. I'm already identifying that the text is a little small here, so we're going to bump it up some. Okay, maybe not that big. Let's go back to 12. Right, so up until this point, right, we have done all of our meetings, we've gotten dressed, done our pre-practice, and now we're into our practice time. So special teams, hit special teams every day. You could have a special teams day, whatever you want to do. I like having special teams every single day, and then we just practice a different deal. So maybe this day we do shield punt, PAT, and field goal. So kind of our kicking, everything but kickoff, right? And then I like to jump right into a team competition. I learned this from Bill Blankenship, right? Competition, if I can spell correctly. So make it situational. Let's do 3rd and 7 plus. But we're just going to call it 3rd of 7. And we're going to go best of 5. Okay, so this is a situation where maybe you put out, if you're one platoon, all you have is who you have, right? You're just trying to do the good on good. Maybe you half line this. Maybe you do just let the offense go out and see if the scout team can stop them, whatever it is, right? Where I learned this from, obviously we were 2 platoon, and so it really was offense versus defense and trying to win the day. So whoever got the 3 victories first, succeeded in converting for a first down, or if the defense prevented the offense from converting, they kind of won that competition period. All right. Now you can get into your individual stuff, right? So 10-minute indie periods is what I'm kind of set on. I know that a lot of you like more than 10 minutes. I think that if you're doing a lot more than that, it's just like the guys usually don't have time to do 2 drills without going like 20 or 30 minutes. But 15 minutes on the same drill just gets redundant. So I think 10 is a pretty good period. Especially, so this is going to be like a 1 platoon type of schedule, okay? So we go offensive indie, everyday drill, right? That's basically what we're going to put on all of these. It's like whatever your everyday drill is for your offensive period. Now, remember, we labeled these columns for both offensive and defensive positions. So if you're looking like how to read this, hey, O-line is going to be on offensive indie everyday drill at this time. Up here, you can even change and put what coach, okay? Whatever you want to do, okay? I prefer just putting it with the position because the guys usually know who their position coach is. Okay, and then the offensive side was now we're going to go maybe inside run. Well, wide receivers aren't going to be there, so we can break that down. Okay, notice I'm building these blocks to where they're 10 minutes wide and they take up the 2 full columns. Maybe they're going to go routes on air, right? So you can kind of see how this is starting to take shape. So what I'm going to do is to make this look a little better on paper, okay, I can just go through and highlight everything, and I'm just going to tell it all borders, okay? And then it's going to only add borders where I have not joined or merged my cells together. So it kind of goes in and makes it look real nice. Okay, let's just knock out the rest of the day. Maybe with some 7-on-7 time, or yeah, we'll go 7-on-7 here. I realize maybe all of you don't make practice the same way, but that's okay. Okay. Working combo blocks that day, whatever you're doing. Okay. If you don't need the H, or if you need to split the H, right? Because we talked about earlier, sometimes these tight ends and H's go with the O-line, and then sometimes they go with the skill guys. So we can make that here. We can go ahead and split them. Okay, so now we can see that tight ends and H's are split. Oh, don't do that. If you're needing to show it a little bit cleaner way, which is okay, you might do something like this. So offensive 7-on-7 there. And then this is kind of how I do it if two groups aren't or getting split or aren't necessarily side by side with the one they're going to join. Okay, so maybe we go tight ends with O-line, H with skill. Okay, so I can kind of identify that here if I want to. It still makes sense. The kids could still understand it. Coaches definitely should still understand it because you're probably going to walk through this. Yeah, so however you need that. And then team offense. Okay, too easy. So moving on. Now we want to add a little bit more special teams. So if this is how you want to do it, it is a way. Okay, so kickoff return. I always bold those things that are like special periods like that. Okay. And then we kind of just repeat this. But now it's going to be defensive Indy. Everyday drills. And your position coaches can come in and edit this because it is a shareable Google Sheet. So they can come in and put what their everyday drill is, right? So maybe my tight end coach wants to work down blocks for his everyday drill this week. Okay. Whatever it is, he can come in and make that change. We don't all have to be exactly, it doesn't all have to be just this generic. So just finishing up here. So defensive inside run. So this is going to be, maybe one-on-ones or whatever. However you need to get better with your DBs that day. This could be, crack replace. It can be whatever it is that you're needing to work that week. Give them a period. Let's see. This is going to be Indy for O-line. So maybe we'll go pass rush. Okay, some work there. They're going to work that pass rush stuff with D-line. I said O-line. Once again, that is O-line, D-line column. So it's generally going to refer to the same kid so they still know what's going on. And then however your coaches are. I was always an O-line coach and a corners or safeties coach. So I kind of had to switch around. Defensive 7-on-7. And then last but not least, 10 minutes of team. Okay. Or let's see, team defense. Boom, just like that. So once again, we just grab them all. We tell it all borders. And we have a practice schedule. Now, when you print this, okay, and put it in portrait, not landscape. And you notice it's already identified pretty well on there. We can also go to formatting and get rid of grid lines. So it'll hide all the extra grid lines. And now I'm printing out a very legible, very organized schedule for my team. Okay. Other things that we can do, of course, you can dress up the top of it if you want. Okay. Maybe you want to do, your team name or whatever. Making that extra big. Yeah, there we go. Right. In the middle here, this is where we can put like information about that week if you want to. Okay, so just grab an even number, merge them, and now we can say, hey, this is week 1. Put a date on there, right? Monday, 19 August 2024 or whatever. Okay, whatever the date is. Once again, you can bold this or you can make it larger. Right? And then, I kind of like to dress it up here and just put who we're playing that week. So we're going to say versus opponent 1. Okay, so just gets all the information on there, so it's a lot easier to identify. I also would dress mine up and put like our little helmet logos or our whatever our mascot logo is on the edges there, and it just makes it look neat. Okay, down at the bottom is where you can get even more peculiar and more specific. Okay, so I'm going to take this and say I want to do, see if I can grab the right number of blocks here. So offensive focus this week and defensive focus this week. Now, this schedule we made exactly even for offense and defense, right? Maybe you do that, maybe you don't. So we're going to make these extra blocks down here. And this ties back into, okay, we had our fix it, right? That period we had, new formations, and then new plays. So that was the 3 things we walked through in the beginning, right? So maybe we want to put some of that in here. Well, there we go. And then on defense, maybe it's the same thing, fix it period, maybe a new blitz or a stunt or coverage, whatever, right? You can kind of tie these up however you want. All right, there we go. So I will once again usually make these a little darker so we understand their headers, mainly so people don't accidentally delete them. You can lock cells if you want to make sure people don't delete them because you're going to be sharing this with your staff. You don't want people accidentally making changes if they're not supposed to. Put borders around all that. All right, so now we can go in and tell what we need to fix. Okay, maybe this is by position. Maybe it's just, hey, here's a few big things. We can merge these boxes again. Here's some new formations we're looking at, new plays. So there we go. So that's kind of how I would make my schedule for, like, this is just a Monday schedule, right? Once again, you can add time to offense and reduce it from defense if you want. If you need more special teams, less special teams. If you don't do speed training in the beginning, whatever it is you need to fix. I also really like meetings up front because it gets the kids locked in, and they're also not wasting that time getting to locker room late or getting in there and messing around and not getting dressed fast enough, and you're always kind of waiting on the same kids to get on the practice field. So that's kind of how I like to do it. I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, just hit me up in the comments below. If you like this type of stuff, please subscribe to the page, like, share, comment. All the things you do to interact with this video are going to help me grow the page. Appreciate it, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.